You're listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast with your host, Johnny D, the motivational cowboy. As a motivational speaker, Johnny D impacts audiences around the world with his message of living the outstanding life. He's a best-selling author, MC, and two-time Grammy-considered artist. This podcast is a place where Johnny D can introduce you to his outstanding friends and share funny, interesting, and heart-provoking stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here comes your host, Johnny D.
Hey everybody, I'm Johnny D, the motivational cowboy, and welcome to this week's Outstanding Life podcast. And like every single week, I bring the coolest people and have the coolest stories. This week is like no other. We have a good friend of mine in the studio with me right now. Cheyenne, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm good, Johnny. How are you?
Absolutely outstanding. I appreciate you coming out to the studio and hanging out for a little while, getting away from the family.
Little bit.
Maybe this was your excuse.
You know, not so much. I really have learned to, as stressful as it can be with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old boy on top of the 16-year-old boy, as stressful as it can be, I really have learned to appreciate those times. But hey, nonetheless, it's great to be here with you.
I love it. You're politically correct because you know your wife is going to be listening. I love it. No, Cheyenne, man, you got a brand new single out, man. And, man, I appreciate you letting us play it, you know, here on Dirt Road Radio and on the Outstanding Life podcast. So if you don't mind, why don't you tell everybody the name of it and we'll play it.
Hey, this is from my brothers from other mothers, Half-Light Music, and the song is called Beating Heart.
Your eyes, they put me to shame. And I'm sat here thinking, Lord, it's such a miserable game. You're mine, the most precious of jewels. When I'm old and mine is fading, would you suffer this fool? Ooh, I'm begging for forgiveness. Ooh, but it's not enough. Take my beating heart and feed it to the dogs. I'm ready for disaster, bracing for the fall, looking for a feeling, waiting on a call for happy ever after, or anything at all. In time you'll find it's a game you can't win. Grind your teeth and keep on grinning. Child, complaining's a sin. This is your time, but there's no time to waste. Spend it chasing cash and women. You will hasten the day. Ooh, you'll be begging for forgiveness. Ooh, but it's not enough. Take my beating heart and feed it to the dogs. I'm ready for disaster, bracing for the fall. I'm looking for a feeling, waiting on a call for happy ever after, or anything at all.
And that was the brand new single by Cheyenne Goff. Cheyenne, I got to ask you, man, what's the song about? It's such a cool song, man.
So it's really funny. This song actually started probably being written at least a decade ago. And it had a whole other verse melody, had more of kind of like a hip hop approach to the rhythm. And I just never really felt satisfied with it enough to go into the studio with it, but it always kind of banged around. It always kind of came back on the blotter one way or the other. And me and my guitarist, over a series of gigs, we play out on the east side at a bar called Three Blind Mice quite a bit, and we usually try to carpool. And we were heading out on the east side of Detroit there, and carpooling, and we just kind of kept going back and forth about this song in ways that we could improve it and simplify it. And it just slowly became a new thing. But the lyric, when I sat down to rewrite the verses, which I thought was crucial, the lyric really kind of started as just about my relationship with my boys. Honestly,
awesome.
It's about realizing that you fall short as a parent, but also kind of wanting to impart some timeless wisdom there with the second verse. Yeah. It's just, I always try to write songs that are, I guess, approachable by different angles and for different people and for different reasons. You know, I never really like to lay it on like this is what that's about, but that's what it was about for me.
That is so cool. Is a song ever perfect for you musicians?
Yeah. I mean, other people's can be, right?
It's just everybody I've ever talked to, they're like, it's never right. But we finally, just like you said, it was 10 years in the making.
Yeah, ultimately. I mean, we definitely shelved it for a good 7 or 8. But
how did you get your start in music, man? I mean, did you start, did you come right out of the womb and you had a guitar in your hand?
No, I always enjoyed music. Like I always, my mom was very musical. My dad was very musical. My dad thumbed around on the guitar a little bit. My mom and her sisters sang in gospel groups. You know, my grandfather was an independent Baptist minister, so
really?
I grew up.
So that's where your soul comes from.
Well, a little bit of that. I definitely learned how to sing parts growing up in a church that didn't allow drums, so you had to really focus on the singing, right? Because that was the one thing you were allowed to do.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I always sang. I think I got serious about it when I was about 14 or 15 and realized that I wasn't going to be a Major League Baseball player. And that was kind of just took over as my passion in life. And things really started moving rather quickly after that.
So why the guitar for you?
I always want to play the guitar, right? The guitar's super cool, and, you know, guitar players always look cool. But I'm a hack guitarist at best, you know, rhythm at best. But I remember when I first told my parents I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, my mom made me take piano lessons first.
Okay.
She was like, well, you should learn the piano first because that's kind of like the foundation. It's technically a percussive instrument, and then you should learn the other instruments too. And you know, I was just like, whatever, if that's what I got to do. I took about 4 lessons. My aunt was actually a piano instructor at the time. I took about 4 lessons, and I just didn't commit to it really at all. Now I regret it. I really do, you know, because later on when I picked it back up, it was more so just like I forced myself to learn it. I remember sitting on the foot of my bed as like a sophomore in high school, listening for root notes and learning like, okay, that sounds like this chord. That's probably this. And, you know, I would get corrected along the way by people that really knew how to play. But that was how I learned.
So who bought you your first guitar? Was it you? Was it mom or dad? Was it your grandparents? Who was it that brought home that first guitar?
Well, my very first guitar was $100 special that we bought.
Back then, that was a lot of money,
at
buddy.
the Gibraltar Trade Center.
Oh, yes.
The action was probably a good inch off the fretboard. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like your pick would get stuck just trying to strum a chord. That was my first ever guitar. And then I saved up. I think I was doing like roofing and landscaping over the next summer, and I bought my first electric guitar, which I still have actually, which is a Tex-Mex Tele that I bought from Scanlan Music, another classic name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That is so cool. So who influenced you musically?
So I definitely was influenced by grunge. I mean, I just was a kid in the mid 90s, you know, and I mean, those groups really kind of blew up the music scene. And as much as I was listening to them, I also listened to a lot of hip hop just where I grew up. So, I mean, you also had the onset of like gangster rap and a lot of these artists that became just icons over in the next few decades, really emerging at that time. It might be the last kind of really great era for music. Of course, I'm biased, but, some of my earliest influences were probably groups like Alice in Chains. I really, really got into the Britpop scene when that came around.
Okay.
So groups like Oasis, The Verve,
Yeah.
a little later on Coldplay,
Yeah.
But then at the same time, my mom was very much like Southern fried California rock. So like the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, okay.
And then my dad was like Dan Fogelberg, Jim Croce. So I just had a lot of eclectic stuff.
Yeah.
Then I had an older brother who was 8 years older than me. So he was all about like new wave, like The Cure, Depeche Mode. So I had all of these things just kind of descending on me, and I soaked it all up.
So I know you from the Detroit area.
Yeah.
Were you born and raised here?
Well, probably for the most part, I could say yes. But my earliest memories, we lived on Indian Reservation in the Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
Just outside of Hessel, Michigan.
Okay.
And my dad was a tribal officer up there. And I just remember lots of snow.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Those are, like I said, those are some of my earliest memories. But we moved up slowly, making our way through the Metro Detroit area into the Downriver area through my early adolescence into teenhood. We've settled in Taylor, Michigan, and that's where I went to high school. But from the age of like 9 until the age of like 13, we did pretty much live in the city or just outside of it in Lincoln Park. So, I consider myself a Detroit boy. Grew up going to Tiger games and all that good stuff. So
you've been playing a long time then.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, do you have pre-show rituals? I mean, you have played all over the place. You've played big arenas. You've played small bars. You play, in basements. You've done it all over the years.
Yeah.
Do you have rituals before you kind of, gig?
What's funny is like the working man's musician, sometimes your ritual is setting up your gear, right? And just being real about it. So I'm like, make sure I stretch before I lug this speaker up onto the stand. But I mean, I usually will try to get a little bit of singing in or just some vocal stretching kind of a thing. Otherwise, I don't really get too... I don't know, just really worried about it, because if I get in my own head, that will affect me,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, over the years, for bigger shows, definitely I'm trying to do like my vocal exercises and, some toe touches, maybe
now,
some
for the people
jumping
listening
jacks.
that don't know, what do you guys really do?
Well,
I do that la 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 la.
we will try to follow the scales. So
Okay.
I'll try to like start and then move up, and we'll go up as much as we can. Sometimes I will get Marty, my guitarist, to join in with me. I was a lot more disciplined as a younger singer.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I mean, it also, the gigs are kind of dictated too. So like if I'm going to play, like if I'm playing at like Greektown Casino and I know that I'm playing like for 4 hours ultimately, right? Might not be singing that entire time.
Right,
I'm definitely going to take advantage of some instrumental breaks there, but I'm going to warm into it as I go.
Okay.
So then it just becomes about song selection as the night goes on, right? Like I'm not going to start with a song that's at the top of my range in a high tempo, because that's going to gas me real quick, which will affect me later on. So I usually am really kind of easing in. And, again, it just kind of depends on the gig. If it's a gig where the expectation is you're bringing all killer, no filler for like 40 minutes, right?
Right.
I'm going to get those vocal exercises in. I'm going to get those jumping jacks in and try to open up my diaphragm.
Yeah.
So I'm not out there, blowing a tire early on.
Cheyenne, I can't wait. I can't, leave everybody hanging any longer. This is great that we got to know you as a young man growing up in the music business.
Sure.
But right out of high school, dude, you're in a band and your song is in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look it up, it is the first 6 pages of Google.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about that.
So, yeah, I mean, we were very, very blessed and very fortunate. I definitely will say that, but we also worked our little fannies off. There's no doubt about it. We were 15, 16-year-old kids, and we wrote a bunch of songs, like a bunch of songs. I remember having so many songs we couldn't even title them. They were numbers.
Cheyenne, I mean, when you said that, my mind is blown, right? Because you just start playing at 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And literally 3 years later, you're like...
It was, I mean, some of it was competitive. I ain't going to lie. I mean, me and the other fella, Aaron, who were the main writers in our first group, Bliss 66, we, it was somewhat competitive. Like, he wrote a song. Okay, I'm going to come with this song, right? Oh, that song's cool. I'm going to come with a better song.
Yeah.
And by the time it was all said and done, we literally sifted through, I think it was 4 dozen songs with Glen Ballard, who had gotten a hold of our music from an entertainment lawyer who had heard of our stuff, because we started recording these songs very early on in the game and being very serious about it, using some major studios around the city. And then we were trying to go straight to radio with it. Well, one of the radio stations at the time, they're now defunct, but 105.1 The Edge, they got one of the songs, started playing it, passed it on to an entertainment lawyer who ultimately got it in the hands of Glen Ballard, who's like, I mean, that's music royalty. Glen Ballard did.
Right.
I mean, he co-wrote Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, for crying out loud. So ultimately, we met with him. We whittled the song down to about 13 songs, which ended up becoming 11. But the Titan AE soundtrack song, that was like almost didn't happen. So originally, we were pitched the opportunity to try to write something for this. Well, I think we sent him like treatments for like 3 songs, and he was like, nah.
Were you out of high school yet?
This was literally my senior year in high school.
No kidding. Dude,
No kidding.
that is so cool.
Yeah,
Go ahead, keep talking.
So
This
was senior year in high school, and the thing didn't happen, but he still wanted to sign us to his imprint label, which was through Capitol Records at the time. So it was like we were disappointed, but we were like, hey, we're still going to make a record with Glen Ballard, whatever. So later on, when we finally went out there to make our record, which would have been like the following summer. So we signed a deal, I think, in like September, the year I graduated, in like June. And then we didn't, I remember this because I had to get a midnight bake job at Tim Hortons. We signed a record contract, but didn't get paid until like December. The lawyers had to take their cut and work out everything else. And anyway, by the time we got out there to record the record,
out where? Where's out where?
L.A.
No kidding. So you went from Michigan to L.A. as a high schooler.
Luckily enough, in the middle of January is when we got to leave too.
Wow.
Praise God.
That's awesome.
So we didn't have to experience the droll days of the end of winter in Michigan.
Yeah.
But no, we were out there recording our album, and Glenn was like, hey, I don't feel like we've got the song yet for this record, and he essentially invited me to kind of do a little co-write session with him where we came up with what became Not Quite Paradise. And what's funny is I really didn't care for the song at the time, but since it's become probably the most popular Bliss 66 song, and there's like all sorts of funny YouTube videos like where people do like graduating classes or drum covers to it, and I just get a real kick out of it because I just remember sitting around in a hotel lobby working on something with, my keyboardist that later became a song with, multi award-winning producer Glen Ballard.
What was that like for you when the movie came out and you got the phone call like, hey, the movie's out, and you went and watched it?
We were still there.
I'm getting goosebumps.
We were still there. We got to go to one of the premieres, actually. So we were still there. It was a pretty cool thing. It didn't come out with as much fanfare as they wanted. I remember there was a little bit of disappointment around how it was essentially released originally. But the movie has since become like a staple on like a lot of like Freeform or HBO Family and stuff like that, because it's an animated movie, but it's like PG, so it's got a little bit of edge to it, right? And it's just grown and grown in popularity, but it all happened so quick. Like literally, they were doing like the finishing touches on the editing for the animation and the record, and Glenn was like, "We're doing this song." We did it all in 3 days.
No kidding.
We did it, tracked it, and then within probably a month, because we were only out there for I think a little over 2 months, maybe 3 months total through the recording of our album. the movie came out. So we got to go to one of the premieres and see it, which was really cool.
So listen, we're in the studio right now. You have a guitar sitting right there. And I'm just wondering, can you play a piece of that song legally?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Can you go ahead and play it for us?
Oh, goodness. This one.
I know that this was not in the notes or anything else, but you know what? Why not?
So it's like, take the path that least resistance to the great unknown. No direct resistance. Now you're on your own. But if you're looking for the answer, it's right before your eyes. Because it's not quite paradise, but it sure looks like home. Not quite paradise, but we can rent to own. But it'll be alright, though it's not quite paradise. I'm sure there were some bad chords in there because you put me on the spot, Johnny. I'll hear about it later.
Cheyenne, that was awesome, man. Thank you so much. I got to say, though, man, what was that song? Just real quick, what was that song all about?
So I only really wrote the bridge of that song. We worked out the lyrics for the chorus, but Glenn I'm talking about now, really was trying to write a song that kind of like tied the whole story together.
Yeah.
So if you watch the movie, you know, it's essentially Earth is destroyed, so they're looking for a new inhabitable planet, and you know they finally find one, and like it's like a horizon scene, and as the credits start to roll, you know, that song starts to play. So big major key, and like there's a lot of vocals, all this stuff going on. So it was literally kind of just written for that. And honestly, one of the first times that I had been a part of like writing like for a theme, like specifically, you know? So it was a cool exercise. But the bridge came together because melodically it was something that I had messed with our keyboard player, Jordan, at the time, in some just different things that we would do together, like doodling. Like a lot of it actually started from vocal exercises, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Just learning different ways that you could harmonize, you know, because he was a very, very musical cat.
It's so crazy, though, that you can sit there and think that something is not that great, right? As a musician, singer, songwriter, whatever. And that song that you may not think is the greatest song could end up being in a movie.
Oh, seriously?
Like you never know, right?
No, I know, yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Well, hey, man, since you have your guitar in your hand and we are in the studio, can you play the song Find My Way?
Yeah, let's do it. I know nothing comes too easy. I learned that well when I was young. Never cried for more than what I've had to please me. 'Cause Mama and Daddy didn't leave me none. Yeah. This is not meant for your pity. I'm not reaching for my gun. I'm not lost, I'm merely looking for my place underneath the setting sun. When I find my way, if you would like to come along, we could be two fools living on the road. when I end my day, I send a prayer before the world, saying don't forget your bastard son. Many moons have come between us, many nights out on the run. Another day, another dollar for my pain. Underneath the setting sun, if I find my you would like to come along, could be two fools living on the run. When I end my day, I send a prayer before the world, saying don't forget your bastard son. If I find my you would like to come along, could be two fools living on the run. And when I end my day, I send a prayer before the world, saying don't forget your bastard son. Don't forget me.
Cheyenne Goff. Man, dude, you're amazing. I love watching you. I've seen you play in church. I've watched you play at festivals. I got to ask you, when you and the band were, you know, the big song came out, you're a band. Did you guys start touring as well?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, that was kind of the way that we cut our teeth, because we definitely didn't do it like locally or conventionally.
Yeah.
I remember really the album was, in industry terms, shelved. So the album was shelved for about a year. So that's what we had to do. And at the time, we weren't really touring on anything other than the fact that we were a major label band until the record came out. So I remember there was a little bit of a gap. Like we did some stuff around college towns were probably our first big shows. Like we did a lot of big East Lansing shows, and we got on some radio shows. This is while I was still in high school.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we went out and we did the record, and then we really didn't play much at all for about a year and a half live. It was all like recording. We were doing demos. And then we started playing again semi-locally. We did some Detroit shows. We did some Toledo stuff. But like right when the record came out, we were trying to strike while the iron was hot. So at that point in time, though, like the soundtrack song was, you know, a year old. So there was no like, the album ended up being released by another label too. So we got released from Capitol, and then Epic picked us up. So that's how the album came out. And then we were touring pretty steadily for the better part of 2 years right after that record.
What was your favorite part about touring?
I mean, looking back on it now, the stuff that seemed like a drag, because, you know, like, just being real about it, when you're 18 and you're like doing something that, you know, is
people dream of.
Yeah. There's a part of you that unfortunately takes a little bit of it for granted, you know? So I wanted, in some ways, like, you know, to get to that next level, to have like the tour bus and stuff, because we never got to that level. We were 15 passenger, you know, Ford Econoline pulling the 15-foot trailer. And like,
you
that
guys
was
were
just,
humping it, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, but now looking back, that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Like, we all had our bench seat. We did stupid crap, like, you know, the various truck stops and random motels we stayed at. I remember we were at some truck stop, and I swear this was like Iowa, and randomly it had like a goalpost in the middle of the parking lot. So we're filling up 2 liters with water and trying to kick field goals at like 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Like just stuff like that sticks with you.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man, because you're like not even 18, or maybe you're just 18, right?
Yeah.
Did you have to have like somebody with you to making sure that you guys are okay? Because you're kids.
Well, Aaron, our rhythm guitar player, the other main songwriter in the group, did have some years on us. Not a whole lot, but he was probably 3 or 4 years older than the rest of us.
So he was legal.
So he was of age. But we did have a traveling, even in the early days, we did have a sound man that came with us that was an older gentleman. And then our guitar player, Robbie, his dad also came out on the road. He was like a traveling insurance adjuster, so he kept weird hours anyway. And a lot of times he would show up at random gigs, and that was cool because he always spoiled us. So
that is so cool, man. If I could say right now, Cheyenne, I could make a phone call and put you in touch with anybody right now that you could go do a gig with.
Mm-hmm.
Who would it be? Who would you love to have a gig with?
Oh, man, that's a great question. You know, I mean, like I have artists that have really, really spoken to me throughout the years. I mean, probably my most influential artist is Richard Ashcroft from The Verve. I mean, a lot of people know The Verve from like Bittersweet Symphony, and yeah, that's a great song. And I mean, he's finally getting his due from it, you know, too. Mm-hmm. Like Keith Richards and Mick Jagger signing off on what was a ridiculous kind of publishing claim. But I mean, his depth of songwriting definitely extends beyond that tune. But I mean, it would be a dream to play for him. I mean, some of the other artists that I've, you know, grown up just really idolizing and just being a big fan of. Well, one of the coolest gigs that I've played was with maybe not even necessarily like a top 5, but it's top 5 in terms of like I was a big fan of the group and I got to play with on a couple different occasions. Would be Ed Kowalczyk from Live. Like that was cool. That was really cool on his acoustic tour, and I've gotten to share the stage with some big acts. With Paper Street Saints, we played with Bon Jovi,
Bret Michaels.
Bret Michaels, I did. I opened for solo.
REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon. With Paper Street, probably two of the biggest shows I played because I got to play kind of the 2 pinnacle venues for a kid that grew up in Detroit. Even though it sounded like crap, I got to play the Palace.
Oh, nice!
That was opening for Bon Jovi, and then we also played DTE, which is of course Pine Knob again. Right?
Yeah.
So just when you get used to calling it DTE, they're back to calling it Pine Knob. Well, when we played it, it was DTE, so we were in the uncool days. But we opened for Ted Nugent, right?
Oh,
so
nice!
I'm not the biggest Nuge fan, but it was still awesome to play a hometown Ted Nugent show at DTE. So
dude,
that was pretty cool.
So when you were in LA, do you have any funny stories about running into celebrities or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a few. So there's the one that like I don't know, and I almost feel like I've got to act it out. So that's not good for the podcast.
No,
but,
you can act it out, please.
Well, one of the earliest, literally, I think this was my first time in LA. So this is both just cool, and it's also got just some weird, like the random things that happen in LA-ness to it. So we got flown to LA. When I say we, I'm talking about me, Aaron Chasso, the other main or the other guitarist in Bliss, other main songwriter in Bliss, essentially to be schmoozed a little bit by Glen. Before we signed our record deal. And when he flew us out there, it was only like a 3-day stay, but we got put up in like a sweet apartment, you know, we got taken out to dinner every night. And like the evening of the second night, we got taken to see Chris Cornell on his first solo tour. So it was like a smaller theater too, like, you know, maybe a couple of thousand people, but we got to hang out with Chris Cornell after. So like, that was amazing. I mean, like still, like, I mean, that guy's voice, just the way he used it like an instrument, just one of the best singers ever, in my opinion. But hanging out with him was really, really cool. But randomly, another guy's there who's like, I'm just sitting there like a quiet, I was 17 at this time. I'm sitting there as a quiet 17-year-old, like, yeah, like this guy's really kind of obnoxious. Like he keeps like shouldering his way into conversations, and like Chris Cornell, that's one thing about him, just very humble, very chill, very soft spoken, as was Glenn. So we were there with Glenn. So it was like, you know, a couple of really humble but super successful musician types, us who were like just giddy and, you know, probably just extra hot under the collar while being wet behind the ear at the same time. And then this other dude who I'm like, why is this, like, who is this? And it dawns on me, because he just had like a little beard going on. I'm like, that's the dude from 90210. So it was Jason Priestley from 90210, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. The funny thing about it was on the back end of that, like the next morning I'm watching a news report, that dude had gotten in an accident that night. Wrecked his car, said he was fleeing some deer or something. It was like a whole story. It was like a national story. I was there.
I remember that because
you know what I'm talking about?
Because he got a DUI for it.
Yes. Because he was into some form of racing or something too, I think, for a while, right?
Yeah.
I was there that night. I saw that man imbibe himself way too much. So that's probably one of my coolest, like, LA stories. The other one that comes to mind was we stayed in the Oakwood Apartments, which were literally like walking distance from the Hollywood Hill.
Okay.
It was kind of in town, so to speak. It was kind of like, I guess, just a semi-legendary apartment, at least for people that were like, didn't live in LA, but were there making a record or there making movies. So there were a lot of people that kind of came and go through that. But the one time I was out, and, you know, sometimes even though we all loved each other, we needed a little time apart from our brothers, right? So in LA, we were all set up 2-2-2. And I think I was like stuck upstairs while Aaron was writing a song, and I just didn't care for what was going on. So I'm like, you know what, man, I'm stepping on. I'm going to go downstairs and read. And at the time, and even still, I'm a huge theology buff. I love scripture. I love reading, deep philosophy, and, just things related to religion, and that's involvement in the world. But I think I was just reading my Bible. At the bottom of the steps, it's like a 3-flight thing. There were 3 levels of apartments. And this guy, I just kind of noticed him peripherally, this older gentleman is walking up, carrying a bunch of grocery bags, like Ralph's or whatever the LA grocery store is. And I take note of him, but like I'm still reading, and like I didn't want to be whatever. So I just kind of move over, and I'm like, hey, are you going up? And he looks at me, and he looks down at my Bible. And dude must have thought I was getting like prophetic or something on him, or like trying to proselytize him, So he just kind of looks at me and goes, boy, I sure hope so. And I look closer, and it's Brian Dennehy.
Really?
Yeah. Tommy Boy's dad. Yeah. So I was like, oh, man. I was like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like, are you going upstairs? He was like, oh, yeah.
Are you going up?
I mean, there are so many like funny things like that. But it was definitely a really, really cool experience. I mean, you just see, random like famous people out and about because, just so many people live there. That was probably the thing that took a little bit of getting used to. I remember Daisy Fuentes actually walked in on me one time like...
Yeah, explain this one, because the way you just set that up, that was kind of weird.
So we were at Conway Studios, and we were recording the last couple of tunes for our first release, and it was like literally finishing touches stuff. And at the time, Brian Setzer Orchestra was there as well. And I think the guitar players from Brian Setzer Orchestra was dating Daisy Fuentes. And like she walked in on me like just in total bum mode, like just smashing Oreos and watching junk TV laid out on this couch. That was supposed to be our lounge. Well, she had gotten mixed up, and she walked in. And I was like, if there's any state with which you don't want to be discovered by like, one of the I think she was in like People's Top 100 Beautiful People of that year or whatever. So just like stuff like that just happened just randomly was just so funny. And you took it for granted at the time, but now looking back, it's like, man, that was cool.
Yeah. What's it like for you now to get off stage and people walk up to you and say, man, that was amazing. And kids wanting to be you. What is that like for you?
It's certainly humbling. And I think because of the fact that essentially I got started performing in the church, I was always taught, and thankfully so, to keep kind of the pride in check, you know? So like, I am thankful to my creator to be able to do what I do. And it's, to me, it's an act of essentially praise and giving back every time I'm able to do it. And I know for some people, you know, that will hear my music and not necessarily always equate it with you know, my Christianity or my spirituality. It's nonetheless still me giving back that which I was given. So I always just try to stay humble about it. I mean, it's funny because my son is like 16, my older boy is 16, and the kid already reads music and he plays by ear. So I'm like, dude, you're already like a leg up on your old man. But like, he just, you know, doesn't necessarily feel like compelled to do it yet. And that gets hard sometimes because I want to, you know, really want to direct your kid or push him here or push him there. But I know that with him, it's a deep-seated humility and really learning how to balance like having that confidence and being able to give your best while still, you know, not letting your head get in the clouds. That's been something I've had to learn over time. Listen, I can say that now, but as an 18, 19-year-old kid, a lot of people that knew me back then are going to tell you that I was full of myself, and probably rightfully so.
Yeah. Cheyenne, what advice could you give to the kids out there listening, as well as what advice could you give their parents? Because so many kids, you know, I mean, we just had Christmas, man, and, you know, people got guitars and you know, and they want to be rock stars, right?
Yeah.
You lived it. You are living it right now. What advice could you give these kids? But then also, it's important, I think, to give the parents advice, because now you are a parent of a 16-year-old that's playing piano and stuff like that.
When you're in a band with 5 guys, essentially, that still lived at home, you know, you got to see the different reactions of parents to what was happening. I mean, you know, a couple of the guys were a year younger than me, so they literally had to have their parents sign the original record contract because they weren't even yet 18. So being kind of through all of that, I was able to see all the different ways that it was handled. I know my mom essentially, because I did really good in school, she basically told me that like she wasn't going to let me live at home if I wasn't going to go to college. And then it wasn't until like right around the time where like the semester was starting up, it was like, hey, Mom, we're signing a record deal, kind of a thing, you know? So, I mean, she definitely was supportive. She didn't hold me back, but she was hesitant. Then, you know, I already talked a little bit about Robbie's dad, Big Rob. He was like over the moon supportive. Like the man opened up his garage to us for years of rehearsal later on, and you know, even supported us financially when necessary. So I think that there's wisdom in both of those approaches. You know, I think that you really do want to support your children, and music is a passion thing.
Absolutely.
That is for sure. You can have somebody that's very skilled but doesn't have the passion, and that can be a waste. Or you can have somebody that's got all the passion in the world, maybe that doesn't have the skill, and then maybe you've got somebody that's kind of stuck in the middle. You know what I'm saying? What's
one piece of advice you could give the kids out there right now that want to do and be you?
Stick to it.
Yeah.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always good. It's going to be a thankless gig. It's a hurry up and wait game. Yeah. I mean, they're not always 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 for sure
stadium, you know, people stadiums.
Do it for the love. Yeah. Remember what got you into it and stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely something that gives back.
Hey man, if you don't mind, will you play the song Overflow?
Sure. Yes, sir. Know that it's me. I won't ever find my place. Now can you see? You would dare to show your face. but I will receive your mercy and your grace. 'Cause now I can see all the emptiness erased, and all I know is your love came rushing, raging till I overflow. Your forgiveness chases after me wherever I go. I'm forever cast in wonder. You fill me up again. Tears in the night, I'm losing sleep again. Stuck in the half-light, feel the darkness creeping in. But here comes the morning with the sunlight breaking through. This is the dawning of your mercies made brand new. And all I know is your love came rushing, raging till I overflow. Your forgiveness chases after me wherever I go. I'm forever cast in wonder. You fill me up again. Here comes the morning with sunlight breaking through. This is the dawning of your mercies made brand new. Here comes the morning with sunlight breaking through. This is the dawning of your mercies made brand new. Take this cup, fill it up till I overflow again. Take this cup, fill it up till I overflow again.
Cheyenne, you are amazing, man. You know, with all of your success, let me ask you, was there ever a time that you felt like you wanted to give up? Because I know that the music business is full of highs and lows, and I'm sure you've had just as many lows as you have had highs.
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a time when you decided to do this that you wanted to quit?
Undoubtedly. I mean, I think that that first kind of the thing that happened with us was just, we were on that music industry bubble when it burst in the early 2000s. And, Kazaa, LimeWire, Napster, all of those things started happening and labels started losing money hand over fist. And, we were on the chopping block pretty early on. So with that kind of way that went down, most of the guys in the group stepped away, at least for a little bit of time. And I definitely started questioning a lot, going from thinking like, oh man, this is sweet. I'm 18. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Like to being like, oh, hey mom, is it cool? Can I get my room back? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, just being real about it. Yeah. So like that on top of just the normal things that human beings go through between the ages of like 18 and 30.
Yeah.
There were undoubtedly times where I just felt like, man, maybe I should just pack it in and go do this. And thank God I didn't.
So let me ask you this, I know that you gig all the time, sometimes multiple times a week, But is music all you do, or do you have a real job?
No, I have a real job. So that's kind of another funny story is this would have been probably like maybe 2005 or 2006. I needed to get a job because the tax man came calling for that first chunk of money I made. Because like I said, we didn't get paid till December. And I was like, hey, I just don't think I'm going to claim necessarily what have you. But anyway, I needed a job. I needed to show that I was making income. And I started working with a friend of mine who was a manager at Forever 21. Believe it or not, I was a stock man at Forever 21. Back then, I remember the shifts were like 7 to 3, but I only worked like 3 or 4 days a week. But I did that for a little while, and then I started working at another company called The Buckle.
Oh, yeah.
In retail. And that's actually when I first started retail management, was with that company. And I learned a lot with that company, a great, homegrown company. Mm-hmm. That came full circle. I've been back at Forever 21 for the last, 10 years at this point in time. Yeah.
So you're not only following a passion, you got a real job too.
Oh, yeah. I hold it down for 40 plus a week.
What's it like for you as a musician to get up there with your guitar, just like you just did for us, and the crowd is singing along with you?
I mean, that's awesome. That's definitely a great feeling. There's no doubt about it. Those moments for an original artist need to be savored. I mean, there were times where, our single would have been big in a specific market, and we were actually surprised by the crowd participation because we had gotten so used to being just like the baby band or the opening band or whatever, and like, hey, your song got spun a few times here, but like when people really knew it, oh man, it's incredible,
Yeah. Hey, with just a couple minutes left, how can people follow you on social media? How can they find you? How can they reach out to you, man?
So Half Light Music is the name of the current project. We are pretty active on Spotify because we've been releasing new tracks regularly throughout the year. But we'll be there. We'll be on YouTube, anywhere you get music, iTunes, Apple Music, Half Light Music. Also on SoundCloud. You can look up Cheyenne Goff or Half Light Music there, and you can find me on Facebook posting about most of my gigs around town.
Cheyenne, I can't thank you enough, man. Absolutely. You are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out today with us.
Appreciate you, Johnny.
Everybody, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourself an outstanding day. We'll see you next time right here on the Outstanding Life Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast. Follow Johnny D on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, advertise, or would like to make a donation, please visit motivationalcowboy.com. And remember to have an outstanding day.
Hey, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Are you planning a conference, convention, meeting, assembly, or any live event that needs a guest speaker? I would love to be a part of it. For more information, visit motivationalcowboy.com. And don't forget to check out my Outstanding Life podcast every Sunday here on Dirt Road Radio, KYDT 103.1 FM and KBFS 1450 AM. Have an outstanding day. Cheyenne, that was awesome, man. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
For sure.
With only 50 minutes, it's really tough, but did you have one more in you?
Yeah, I can probably crank one off.
Yeah?
I got you.
What's it called?
Make sure I'm in tune here. That's crucial. I've been playing, trying to play songs that have a little bit more up-tempo to it. I'm a sucker for that mid-tempo or slow-tempo moody ballad, but I'm going to give you a song I wrote long time ago called Hey Little Girl. Hey little girl, where you going to? Don't you know it's cold outside? Hey little girl, what you crying for? Maybe all you need is what you will find. But it's a long and lonely afterglow, and there's a hurt inside you never show. When all them beggars come to steal your love away. Hey little girl, what you hiding from? Maybe you should come and pay. Where's that little girl you've been running from? Why don't you come and talk for a while? But it's a long and lonely afterglow, and there's a hurt inside you never show. When all them beggars come to steal your love away. Well, it's a long and lonely afterglow, and there's a hurt inside you never show. Said it's a long and lonely afterglow. That little girl inside you dare to show. Still all them devils come to steal your love away. Hey little girl, where you going to? Don't you know it's cold outside?
That was awesome, man. That was awesome. I cannot wait for this podcast to come out.
Cool.
Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
That one actually probably felt the best of the three I played.
Hey,
so
where did...
I'm glad you had me do it.
What was that one written about? I have to ask. Just having a daughter.
No. That's
having a daughter myself. I kind of I almost had to almost stop listening because I got a little teary eyed.
So another funny story is that song started. That might have been one of the first songs I ever started writing, and it was about a girl in my youth group that I felt like was trying too hard to shed the good girl image.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
That's awesome, man.
You know?
You're amazing. Thank you
Thank
again,
you.
man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.